The mockery begins. In the great alien city of Vaynor, towers of silver touched the clouds, glowing with strange lights that never faded. The streets were wide and filled with proud alien families, their robes shining, their eyes glowing like jewels. The people moved with dignity, each one believing in their own worth and value. But in the middle of the main square, a girl stood alone. She was small, with pale violet skin and silver hair that hung to her shoulders. Her eyes looked down, because looking up only invited more laughter. Today was the day she was to be judged. Today was the day she would be given her worth. The council of elders sat high above on crystal thrones, their voices carried over the crowd. This one has been tested. This one has been examined. She holds no gift, no power, no ability to bring a future to our people. She is zero reproductive value. The crowd erupted in cruel laughter. Their voices cut sharper than any blade. Some threw scraps of cloth at her. Others spat in her direction. Children pointed and mocked, repeating the words of their parents. 0, 0, 0. They chanted, as if her name was nothing more than a curse. The girl tried to stand tall, but her knees shook. She wanted to cry, but she bit her lip. If she cried, they would laugh harder. If she showed pain, they would cheer. So she remained silent, her hands clenched tight, her body trembling inside her thin robe. The elders declared, "She has no future among us. She is less than the dirt beneath our feet. She is discarded." The words echoed in her mind. Discarded. The sound of it was like chains closing around her. The crowd shouted in agreement. Their joy was not her joy. It was the joy of cruelty. She turned her eyes, and in the sea of hate, she noticed something strange. At the far end of the crowd, leaning against a pillar, stood a human. His hair was dark, his eyes sharp. His face did not laugh. He did not mock. He simply watched. The girl blinked, wondering if she imagined him. Humans were rare here, and most were treated with suspicion. But his eyes were fixed on her, not with pity, but with curiosity, as if he saw something nobody else did. The ceremony ended. The elders waved their hands, and the crowd dispersed, still laughing, still mocking. The girl was pushed aside, nearly falling into the dirt. She held her breath and ran to the side street, away from their eyes. Her feet carried her to the back alleys of Vaynor, where broken walls and shadows gave her cover. Here she could breathe. Here she could finally let tears roll down her cheeks. She sat against a wall, her arms wrapped around her knees. She whispered to herself, "I am nothing." They said I am nothing. But from the shadows, footsteps followed, quiet, steady, not like the rush of the crowd. She lifted her head, and there he was, the human. He stepped closer, not too close, but enough for her to see his face clearly. For a moment, fear filled her. Her people always said humans were dangerous. They said humans were selfish, violent, and cruel. She pressed her back against the wall, her breath fast. But he did not raise his hand. He did not speak harsh words. Instead, he crouched down a little, lowering himself to her level. His voice was calm. "I saw what they did to you." Her eyes widened. Her throat felt tight. She could not answer. She expected him to laugh too, but he did not. "They call you zero value," he said softly, "but I think they are blind." The girl's heart pounded. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Why would a human care? Why would anyone care? The human tilted his head. His eyes did not carry hate. His voice had no mockery. "Do you believe them? Do you believe you are nothing?" She shook her head slowly, then nodded, then shook again. Her mind was a storm. "I do not know," she whispered. The human leaned back slightly. He gave a small smile, not of amusement, but of understanding. "Good," he said, "because I do not believe them either." She stared at him. Her chest tightened. For the first time in her life, someone had spoken words against the council. For the first time, someone looked at her as if she mattered. The air around them grew heavy. From the distance, the voices of the crowd still echoed. The city still believed she was worthless. But here in this small dark alley, something different had begun. The human stood tall, adjusting his jacket. "Stay strong," he whispered. "You are not what they say." The girl sat frozen, watching him turn to leave. Her heart screamed to call him back. Her mind begged her to stay silent. But before she could decide, he disappeared into the busy street. She pressed her hand against her chest, feeling her heartbeat. It was faster than ever before. For the first time, she felt a spark that maybe, just maybe, she was not Zero after all. And in the shadows, she never noticed that the human was still watching from afar, his eyes locked on her, as if he already knew her future was not lost, but waiting to be written. The human's curiosity. The next morning, the alien city of Vaner shone as if nothing had happened. Towers reflected the rising sun. Markets opened, and the same voices that mocked her yesterday filled the air again. Yet for the girl, the shame of yesterday never faded. She woke up in the ruins where she slept, hidden behind broken stone walls. She had no family who wanted her, no home where she was welcome. She wrapped herself in her thin robe and walked toward the market, not to buy, but to search for scraps. Vendors pushed her away. Some shouted, "Zero, beggar, go hide yourself." She lowered her eyes, swallowing her pain. Still, she searched quietly, and when she found a small piece of bread that had fallen to the ground, she picked it up with trembling hands. It was dirty, old, but it was food. She sat in a corner, ready to eat. But then she noticed a small alien child nearby, crying and lost. The child looked hungrier than her, his cheeks hollow, his eyes wide. For a moment she hesitated. Her stomach ached with hunger. But slowly, she broke the bread in half and gave the larger piece to the child. The child smiled weakly, chewing quickly, whispering, "Thank you." She gave a faint smile back. From the shadows, unseen by her, the human watched. His arms were crossed, his face unreadable. He had followed her from the ceremony, not out of pity, but out of curiosity. He wanted to see what kind of soul lived inside the girl the aliens called Zero. He saw her give away food when she herself had nothing. He saw her carry herself with silent dignity even as insults rained on her. Something stirred in his chest. For years, he had traveled many alien worlds. He had seen greed, cruelty, power-hungry leaders. But this girl, worthless in their eyes, had a strength he did not see in their proud families. The girl, unaware of his eyes, wandered through the alleys. At one point, her legs gave out from weakness. She sat on the cold stone, hiding her face, whispering, "Why am I alive, if I am nothing?" The human stepped forward, his boots making a soft sound on the dirt. She lifted her head, startled. Her eyes widened when she saw him again. "You," she whispered, almost in disbelief. He nodded once. "Me?" Her heart pounded. She wanted to ask why he was there, why he followed her, but fear caught her tongue. She only hugged her knees tighter. He crouched again, offering something from his pack, a wrapped piece of human bread, simple but warm. The smell filled the air. Her stomach twisted, but she shook her head. "I cannot take this." "Yes, you can," he said firmly. "You need it more than I do." Her hand trembled as she reached, but she still hesitated. "Why? Human, why do you help me?" His eyes met hers, sharp but kind. "Because I saw who you were yesterday. They mocked you. They named you Zero. But then I saw you give your only food to a child. That is not nothing. That is worth more than their shining towers." Her throat tightened. The words struck deep. Nobody had ever spoken to her like this. Nobody had ever noticed her kindness. She took the bread, her eyes wet. She ate slowly, as if every bite carried meaning. The human leaned against the wall, his voice calm. "What is your name?" She blinked, shocked by the question. No one had asked her name in years. To them, she was only Zero. She whispered softly, "My name is Leora." "Leora," he repeated, as if testing the sound. "That name is not nothing. That name is strong." She looked down, hiding her blush. The word felt strange, strong. She had never been called that before. He studied her quietly. His mind was already racing. He knew he could not walk away now. Something about this girl tied him to her, like fate. Suddenly, loud voices echoed from the street. A group of alien youths approached, laughing cruelly. When they saw Leora sitting with the human, their laughter grew louder. "Look, the Zero has found a pet human," one of them sneered. "Or maybe she sells herself for scraps," another mocked. Their words cut deep, but Leora said nothing, her head lowered again. The human, however, stood tall. His presence grew heavy, his voice sharp like steel. "Leave her alone." The youths hesitated. Humans were rare, and most were feared for their strange strength and technology, but pride pushed them. She is worthless. Why do you care, human? His jaw clenched. He did not shout, but his calm words carried fire. Because I see value where your blind eyes do not. The youths faltered. Their laughter turned uneasy. They spat near the ground and walked away, muttering, but not daring to fight. Leora looked up, her eyes wide. You defended me. He turned to her, his eyes steady. I told you, you are not what they say. Her lips parted, but no sound came. A strange warmth filled her chest. For years she lived in silence, in shame, in shadows. But this human, a stranger, had given her something she had never known. Hope. That night, as the city lights flickered and the cold winds howled, Leora lay awake in her corner of the ruins. But this time, her thoughts were different. Her stomach was not empty. Her heart was not as heavy. She whispered her own name to herself, Leora, as if reminding her soul she still existed. And in the distance, on the rooftop above, the human sat watching, his eyes fixed on the girl, his mind whispering the same truth he felt. She was not zero. She was the beginning of something greater. First contact. The night was long, the city quiet under its glowing towers. Leora sat awake in her broken shelter, her hands around her knees, replaying the strange events again and again. A human had spoken to her, not as a beggar, not as zero, but as if she was someone worth seeing. Her heart told her it was a dream, but her stomach reminded her of the bread she had eaten. It was real. His words were real. She whispered to herself, why does he care? The next morning, as dawn painted the sky pale gold, she walked to the riverbanks. Here, the city's rich people never came. The water was dark but calm. She washed her face, letting the cold sting her awake. She wanted to feel clean, even if the world called her dirt. She did not notice him at first. The human stood a few steps behind, silent, watching. When she turned, her breath caught. He was here again, his eyes steady, his presence heavy but not frightening. You followed me, she whispered. Yes, he replied, his voice low but firm. Because I cannot ignore you. Her heart beat faster. She hugged her thin robe tighter. Why? Why me? Because they all say you are nothing, he said. But I have eyes, and I see something different. Leora's lips trembled. She wanted to believe, but doubt clung to her like chains. She whispered, you should not stay near me. They will hate you too. He gave a small smile. They already hate me. I am human. His honesty made her stare. It was true. Aliens in Vaynor distrusted humans. They thought humans were trouble, selfish, too different. Maybe that was why he understood her pain. He lived as an outsider too. The silence stretched, until finally he said, my name is Daniel. Daniel, she repeated softly. The sound was strange, human, but it carried strength. And you are Leora, he said firmly, as if reminding her that she had a name, not a number, not zero. For a long moment, she felt the world fade. It was only them. One human, one alien girl, both unwanted, both alone, yet somehow, not alone anymore. Daniel pulled something from his pack again. This time it was not food but a small glowing device. He pressed it, and a soft blue light filled the air. It hummed gently. She gasped, her eyes wide with fear. What is that? Do not be afraid, he said quickly. It is a translator. I want to understand you better. I want you to understand me. The glow pulsed between them. Her words grew clearer, his voice smoother in her ears. For the first time, she felt as if no barriers stood between them. She looked down, whispering, you are strange, human. All others avoid me, but you stay. Daniel's gaze sharpened. Because you have something they do not. They see zero, but I see courage. I see kindness. I see hope. Her eyes filled with tears. She turned her face away. No one has ever said such things to me, not once. Before Daniel could answer, voices rang out from the river path. A group of alien guards in black armor marched past. Their eyes swept the banks. One of them spotted Leora. His lips curled into a sneer. The worthless girl, always hiding in the dirt. Another noticed Daniel. His expression turned dark. And a human with her. How disgusting. Daniel's body tensed. His hand brushed the edge of his jacket, as if ready to draw something hidden beneath. Leora grabbed his wrist quickly, whispering, no, please, do not fight. They will kill you. Her touch froze him. His eyes met hers. He saw not fear for herself, but fear for him. Her selflessness shocked him again. The guards laughed cruelly and walked away, muttering about punishment later. Leora let out a shaky breath. Her grip loosened on Daniel's wrist. She whispered, "You should go. It is dangerous for you now." But he shook his head. "Danger does not scare me. Losing you does." Her heart stopped for a moment. Her eyes widened. No one had ever said words like that to her. The world felt unreal. Daniel leaned closer, his voice like a vow. "I will not walk away. Not now. Not ever. If they want to call you Zero, let them. But to me, you are Leora, and that means everything." Her lips parted, but words failed her. A storm of emotions filled her chest. Fear, hope, disbelief, and something warm she could not name. She whispered, "If you stay with me, they will hate you more, they will hurt you." Daniel's eyes did not waver. "Then let them try." At that moment, the wind carried the sound of the city bells, a call for council gathering. It echoed across the river. The council of elders had heard whispers that the human was speaking with the Zero girl. Soon, the whole city would know. Daniel turned his head toward the sound, then back at her, his jaw set. "They will come for us, but I am ready. The only question is, are you ready too?" Leora's breath caught. The river flowed quietly beside them, but inside her, a storm raged. She looked at Daniel, at the human who had broken through her darkness. Her voice was small, but firm. "Yes, I am ready." And though she did not understand what future awaited, she knew one thing. The chains around her heart had cracked. For the first time, she was not Zero. For the first time, she was someone worth standing beside. Society's anger. The council chamber of Vayner was not a place of kindness. It was a place of power. The thrones of crystal rose above the hall, and the elders sat like shadows with glowing eyes. They had ruled for generations. Their word was law. That morning, whispers had spread across the city. A human was seen with the Zero girl. The elders listened with frowns carved into their faces. The chief elder raised his voice. "This is shameful. First she is nothing, and now she corrupts an outsider. This cannot continue." In the markets, in the streets, the story grew like fire. Mothers pulled their children away when Leora walked by. Merchants spat at her feet. "First you are worthless. Now you bring a cursed human to us," they shouted. Leora felt the hate press heavier than ever. Her body shook, not from fear for herself, but from fear for Daniel. She whispered to him, "They will punish you, not me. Please leave before it is too late." Daniel looked at her firmly. "No, Leora, I will not run from their anger. I have seen tyrants before. They cannot scare me." Still, the tension grew. Alien guards patrolled more often, their glowing weapons ready. People pointed at Daniel as he walked beside her. Some mocked, others whispered. A few even threw stones. One sharp rock struck Leora's arm, cutting her skin. Daniel's eyes flared with anger. He rushed to her side, holding her arm gently, his voice cold. "This is how they treat you. This is what they call justice." Leora shook her head quickly, tears in her eyes. "Please, do not fight. If you fight, they will kill you, and it will be my fault." But something inside Daniel snapped. He stood tall in the middle of the market. His voice rang out, strong and clear. "You call her Zero, but she has more worth than your entire council. She gave food to your starving child while you laughed. She has strength you will never understand, and if you cannot see it, then you are the blind ones." The market fell silent. Every alien froze. Shock spread through them. Never had a human spoken so boldly in their city. Leora's heart thundered. Her breath caught. Daniel's words felt like fire, like a shield wrapping around her. Yet she also knew the danger. The guards had heard, and they were already moving. That night, in the ruins where they hid, Daniel sat beside a small fire. Leora watched him, fear in her voice. "You should not have spoken. They will not forgive you." Daniel's eyes flickered with determination. "I do not need their forgiveness. I need you to believe me. You are not nothing. You are not Zero. You are Leora, and one day they will regret mocking you." Her chest tightened. She whispered, "I want to believe, but I am so afraid." Daniel leaned closer, his voice softer. "Fear means you still have something to lose. That is strength, not weakness." For the first time, She looked into his eyes without lowering her head. She saw not pity, but respect, and in that moment, a small flame lit inside her heart. But beyond the ruins, the city boiled with anger. The council gathered soldiers. The chief elder commanded, "Find the human and the girl. Bring them alive if possible. But if they resist, destroy them both." Torches burned through the night as search parties marched. Families locked their doors. The name Zero spread again, but this time with venom. Zero the traitor, Zero with the human. They hissed. In the shadows, Daniel saw the marching soldiers. He gritted his teeth. He knew what this meant. He turned to Leora. "They are coming. We have little time." Her breath quickened. "What will we do?" He held her shoulders firmly, his eyes unshakable. "We run, we survive, and when we survive, we prove them wrong." Her tears fell, but she nodded. "I will follow you." The sounds of armored boots grew closer. Lights pierced the alleys. Orders shouted through the air. Daniel pulled her hand, leading her into the dark streets. Their escape had begun. Behind them, the city roared with rage, a society blinded by pride, unable to see the truth before their eyes. And above, the crystal towers glowed cold and merciless, as if watching their every step. But in the shadows of the alleys, two figures ran, one human, one alien girl, bound together not by law or power, but by something far greater. Hope. The escape. The night air was sharp, carrying the sound of armored boots striking stone. Leora's breath came fast as Daniel pulled her through the winding alleys. The glow of soldier torches lit the streets behind them. Shadows stretched like claws reaching for them. "Faster," Daniel urged, his voice steady though his heart pounded. He knew what would happen if they were caught. The council would not show mercy. Leora stumbled, her thin legs weak. Daniel caught her arm, pulling her close. "Stay with me," he whispered. She nodded, though fear burned in her chest. The streets of Vaynor twisted like a maze. Daniel seemed to know where to turn, his steps sure, his eyes sharp. Leora realized this was not his first time escaping danger. He moved like someone who had outrun death before. Behind them, the voices of soldiers grew louder. "Find them. Do not let them leave the city." Daniel led Leora into a narrow passage, barely wide enough for two. They pressed against the wall as soldiers ran past. The girl's heart thundered so loudly she thought it would betray them. Daniel's hand tightened around hers, firm and grounding. When the street cleared, he pulled her onward. They moved through abandoned courtyards and broken bridges. The city's beauty seemed like a cage now, towers of crystal and silver turning into watchful eyes. At last, they reached the old aqueduct tunnels beneath the city. The air was damp and heavy. The stones cracked, water dripping in slow rhythm. Daniel paused, his eyes scanning the darkness. "This way," he said, guiding her inside. His voice carried calm, but inside he was calculating. Every step, every turn, every second mattered. Leora shivered in the cold. Her voice broke. "Why do you risk this, Daniel? You could leave me and be safe." Daniel stopped, turning to face her, his hand lifted to her shoulder. "Safe means nothing if I abandon you. Leora, do you not see? You are not a burden to me. You are the reason I keep moving." Her eyes widened. Her lips trembled. The warmth of his words cut through the cold. For so long, she had been told she was worthless. Now here was someone who ran into danger for her sake. The tunnel split into two paths. Daniel hesitated, then chose the left, his instincts sharp. But before they could go far, a beam of light struck the wall. Soldiers had entered the tunnels. Their voices echoed. "They are here. Block every exit." Daniel cursed under his breath. He grabbed Leora's hand again, running deeper. The water splashed under their feet. The tunnel narrowed, forcing them to move single file. Daniel in front, shielding her. Arrows of energy blasted against the stone. The walls shook. Sparks rained down. Leora cried out. Daniel pulled her close, pushing her against the wall to protect her. His body shielded hers completely. When the barrage paused, he looked into her eyes. "Do you trust me?" She nodded quickly, without doubt. "Yes." His jaw tightened. "Then do exactly as I say." He reached into his jacket, pulling out a small human device. A flare-like object. He pressed it to the wall, and a sudden burst of smoke filled the tunnel. The soldiers coughed. Blinded, Daniel pulled her forward, leading her through the chaos. They ran until the smoke faded. Finally, they emerged into an opening. The tunnel ended in a wide cavern beneath the city. Strange glowing moss lit the walls. An underground river flowed strong and fast. Leora gasped, "We cannot cross this." Daniel looked at the rushing water, then at her. His eyes were steady. "We have to. It is the only way out." Her legs shook. Her heart pounded. "I cannot. I will drown." He stepped closer, his voice calm. "No, you will not. I will not let you. Do you trust me?" Her throat tightened, but she nodded again. "Yes." Daniel wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close. "Then hold on." Without another word, he leapt into the water. The current roared, pulling them under. Leora clung to him, fear screaming in her chest, but his grip never loosened. His strong strokes carried them forward. The river dragged them far beneath the city. Soldiers shouted from the banks above, but the current carried them too fast. The sound of pursuit grew faint. At last, the current slowed. Daniel pulled them to the edge of a rocky shore. Gasping, he lifted Leora onto the stones. She coughed, water dripping from her hair, her body weak, but alive. Daniel climbed beside her, his chest heaving. He looked at her with a faint smile. "See, I told you. You can trust me." Her tears mixed with river water. She whispered, "You saved me. Again, why do you keep saving me?" His voice softened. "Because you saved me first, Leora. You saved me the moment you showed me kindness when the world called you nothing. Do you not understand? You gave me something worth fighting for." Her breath caught. Her heart ached with warmth. For the first time, she felt more than hope. She felt connection. Above them, the stars broke through the cracks in the cavern's ceiling. For the first time, she looked up and did not feel small. She felt alive. She felt seen. And somewhere far above, the city of Vaynor burned with anger. Soldiers searched. Elders plotted. But down here in the hidden dark, two fugitives held each other against the cold. Their escape had just begun, but their bond was already stronger than the chains of an entire world. The new beginning. The underground river had carried them far. By the time Daniel and Leora climbed onto the rocky bank, the city lights of Vaynor were gone. Only the wild lands stretched around them, dark forests glowing faintly under alien moons. Leora shivered, wrapping her arms around herself. "Where are we?" she whispered. Her voice shook, half with fear, half with wonder. "Far enough from the city," Daniel said, scanning the forest. His eyes were sharp, calculating. "But not safe. They will keep hunting us." Leora's chest tightened. "They will not stop. They will kill you because of me." Daniel turned to her, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. "No, they will try, but I have faced worse than them, and I have a way out, a real way out." She blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device, oval-shaped, glowing faintly blue. "This is a beacon. If I activate it, my ship will come. It is hidden beyond the forest, waiting for my call." Her breath caught. She stared at the device as if it was magic. "You have a ship." Daniel gave a small nod. "Yes, and with it, I can take you away from this world, away from those who call you worthless, away from the chains of the council." Leora froze. Her heart pounded. For years she had lived as a shadow in the city, hated, mocked, discarded. Now this human spoke of leaving, of stepping into the stars. It felt impossible. I cannot," she whispered, shaking her head. "This is my home. Even if they hate me, I cannot leave it." Daniel's eyes softened. He crouched so he was level with her, his voice calm but firm. "Leora, a home is not the place that rejects you. A home is where you are valued, where you are safe. Do you want to spend the rest of your life proving yourself to people who will never see you?" Her throat tightened. His words pierced deep. She thought of the council's laughter, the chance of zero, the stones thrown at her. The memory was sharp, painful, but still, she whispered, "If I leave, it means I am weak. It means they win." Daniel shook his head slowly. "No, it means you choose your own future. You are not weak for leaving chains behind. You are strong for breaking them." Her eyes filled with tears. She looked away, but his words echoed inside her. That night they rested in the forest. Daniel kept watch while Leora lay under the stars, She whispered her name again, Leora, as if reminding herself she existed. For the first time, she wondered what her name would sound like beyond this world. The next morning, Daniel led her deeper into the wild. At last they reached a clearing where strange stones formed a circle. In the center lay something hidden under camouflage netting. Daniel pulled it back, revealing the sleek shape of a small human shuttle, silver and dark, built for speed. Leora gasped, her hand over her mouth. It is real. Daniel smiled faintly. Yes, this ship has carried me through wars and storms. Now it can carry you to a new life. Her body trembled. She stepped closer, her fingers brushing the cold metal. The thought of leaving her world both terrified and thrilled her. But before they could board, the sound of voices echoed through the trees. Soldiers. They had followed the trail. Their torches flickered between the branches. Daniel cursed under his breath. He grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the ship. We are out of time. Leora hesitated at the door, her heart torn. She looked back at the forest, at the land she had known all her life. Even if it was cruel, it was still hers, she whispered. If I leave, I abandon everything. Daniel's voice rose, firm and unshakable. If you stay, you abandon yourself. Her tears fell, her chest burned with fear and hope. She looked at him, really looked at him. The human who stood against a whole city for her. The human who saw her not as Zero, but as Leora. And in that moment, she understood. She stepped forward, into the shuttle. The engines roared, shaking the trees. Soldiers burst from the shadows, their weapons glowing. Shots fired, energy beams crashing against the shuttle's shields. Daniel pulled her into the seat, pressing controls with swift hands. Hold on, he warned. The shuttle lifted from the ground. Fire and light filled the night as soldiers shouted below, but the ship rose higher, faster, breaking free from the forest. Leora's eyes widened as the ground shrank away. The city towers glittered in the distance, cold and cruel. For the first time, she did not feel small beneath them. She was above them, rising, leaving. Her breath caught as the shuttle pierced the clouds. Stars opened above, endless and bright. Her tears fell, not from sorrow, but from wonder. Daniel glanced at her, his voice calm. This is the beginning, Leora, not the end. Her lips trembled. She whispered, then take me. Daniel, take me to the place where I am not Zero. He gave a rare smile. You are already not Zero. You never were. You are Leora. The shuttle broke into the stars, leaving behind a world that had never seen her worth. And in its trail, the council's anger burned brighter than ever, for they knew the human had stolen what they had thrown away and turned it into something greater than they could ever imagine. The future made possible. The shuttle soared through the endless dark, stars burning like diamonds across the Black Sea. Leora sat beside Daniel, her hands trembling against the seat. For the first time in her life, the city of Vaynor was behind her, the chains of zero value, no longer wrapped around her neck. But fear still whispered inside her. What if I do not belong out here either? She asked softly. Daniel glanced at her, his voice steady. You will belong because I will make sure of it. And more than that, you will belong because of who you are. His words gave her strength, yet doubt lingered. She looked at her reflection in the shuttle glass. Pale violet skin, silver hair, eyes filled with pain and hope. Who was she now? No longer Zero, but not yet someone else. The shuttle landed on a human colony world, far beyond alien borders. The city that greeted them was different from Vaynor. Children ran freely. People of many races worked side by side. The air carried no chance of mockery, no whispers of hate. Instead, curious eyes turned toward Leora. Daniel placed his hand gently on her back, guiding her. Walk with me, he said. She hesitated, but stepped forward. Each step felt heavy, as if the ghost of her past tried to hold her back. Yet the eyes watching her here did not laugh. They only wondered. In the colony's central hall, human scientists greeted Daniel warmly. You returned, they said, and you brought someone. Daniel introduced her. This is Leora. She is not what her people called her. She is more. The scientists studied her gently, not like the elders who judged, but with curiosity and respect. They asked if she would allow a scan of her biology. Leora hesitated, but Daniel squeezed her hand. "It is your choice," he whispered. For the first time, someone asked her, not commanded her. She nodded slowly. Yes. The scans revealed something extraordinary. Leora's body carried a unique genetic pattern, one that could resist certain alien plagues that had spread through the galaxy. Her blood, once mocked as worthless, could help heal worlds. The scientists gasped. "This is a miracle. Do you know what this means?" they said. "She is not zero. She may be the key to saving millions." Leora's eyes filled with tears. She pressed her hand to her chest. Her breath shook. "Me. I am not nothing," she whispered. Daniel stood beside her, his voice firm. "You were never nothing. They were too blind to see it, but now the galaxy will." News spread quickly across human and alien channels. The story of the girl once called Zero Value reached far worlds. Some mocked at first, but as evidence grew, shame filled those who had laughed. Even in Vayner, the council heard the truth. The girl they had discarded was no longer worthless. She was priceless. The city that once mocked her now buzzed with disbelief. Families whispered, "She was ours, and we threw her away." The elders tried to hide their guilt, but whispers of rebellion rose among their people. For if the council could call someone worthless when she was a treasure, what else had they lied about? Back on the colony, Leora stood at a balcony. Looking at the sky, her heart felt lighter, yet still heavy with memories. Daniel joined her, standing close. "You changed everything, Leora," he said softly. She shook her head. "No, you changed me." But Daniel smiled faintly. "No, you were always this strong. I only showed you the mirror." Her lips trembled, her eyes wet. She whispered, "Then let me promise, Daniel, I will never again believe I am zero. I will live. I will heal. I will give back, because now I know my worth." Daniel looked at her with quiet pride. His hand brushed hers, firm and steady. "And I will stand by you, always." The stars above glittered, not as distant, unreachable fires, but as paths waiting to be walked. The girl once mocked, once broken, once discarded, had become more than her world could ever imagine. The galaxy would remember her not as Zero, but as Leora, the one who turned cruelty into hope and despair into light. And beside her stood the human who had seen her worth when no one else did. Together, they faced a future infinite.